Hello and welcome back to Bookmark Chronicles. Today we are going to have another chat about things going on in the bookish community. I'm already a glass of wine in, but we're just gonna try to get through this. I did do a previous video where I called out the bookish community for the obscene amount of drama that I was seeing when I first started BookTube and first joined Book Twitter. Shortly after that, I started watching Jess's book community videos that she posts every Tuesday. If you have not seen them, highly recommend. I learned so much from her, not only about authors and how trash the publishing industry is, but just about things going on in the books community that I probably wouldn't know otherwise. So I will link her videos in the description below. Highly recommend that you go follow her. She's awesome and her dog Nigel is the cutest. So today I'm not necessarily calling out the bookish community. However, there are some things that I want to talk about that I feel like this community needs to stop doing. I did go onto Twitter and ask people which discussion video they wanted to see next, and surprise, surprise, this one was the winner. So here we go. The first thing that I want to talk about today is no matter what, never be afraid to give an honest review. Whether you've received an ARC or were reached out to by a publisher or an author, you should always want to give your honest opinion. And if that means that you didn't like a book or you rated it lowly, you should not be afraid to do so. Lately, authors have kind of been losing their minds on Twitter and Goodreads, calling out booktubers for doing their worst books of 2020, which is something that we do every year, and I personally don't think it's a bad thing. I love those videos. I learn a lot from them. If it's from someone that has similar taste that I do, then I know I should stay away from those books, but if it's from someone who I tend to disagree with, it actually gives me recommendations. Not only that, but there was another situation where an author kind of went after a booktuber on Goodreads because she hadn't even finished the book yet, but she was giving an update. And because the author didn't like what she said, she went on a rant about how it took her this amount of time to work through the book and this, that, and the third. Let me say, I totally understand that it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to write multiple drafts of a book, get a yes from a publisher, and then have that book published. And while I understand that you want to be successful and that it might hurt when somebody doesn't like your work, everybody's not going to like it. And if your expectation was that everybody who ever picked it up was going to love it and give it 5 stars, then you're setting yourself up for failure. And a lot of booktubers also write. We all understand this. It's kind of the same with any content creator. Everybody's not going to like what you have to say. Everybody's not going to like your style. Everyone's not going to agree with your opinions. And that's fine. That should not make you lose your mind enough to bully somebody on the internet. I have a lot of unpopular opinions. People aren't always going to like what I have to say, and that's fine. If you want to debate about it or have a conversation, we can absolutely do so. I can respect your opinion as long as it's not hurting anyone and move on with my day. There is no valid reason for authors to be attacking readers for having a difference of opinion. So I say all that to say, whatever your opinion is, good or bad, always give it. Always be honest. You should never have to pretend to like something just because you're afraid of hurting somebody's feelings. And that goes for BookTube and social media and in life in general. If anybody cares, I'm drinking Black Girl Magic Riesling. I'm typically not a fan of Riesling, but this one's actually pretty good. The next thing that I want to talk about is readathons. I personally don't participate in readathons. However, I've been seeing people sign up for multiple readathons at a time, overwhelming themselves and then beating themselves up when they don't complete all the prompts or get a bingo or however the readathon is structured if they fail. Readathons are not mandatory. If you want to participate in them, absolutely go for it. Have fun. And even though I don't participate in them, a lot of them are really great, like Believeathon and Indigathon. I didn't even know those things existed until I joined BookTube, and I get a lot of recommendations from people's readathon TBR videos. However, if for whatever reason you don't end up completing all of the prompts that you were supposed to or whatever, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. One of the reasons that I don't do them is because I don't really care for the prompts a lot of times. Sometimes they feel very restrictive, and if I'm not in the mood to read a certain thing, I'm not going to force myself to, because either I'm not going to enjoy it or I'm going to force myself to do it and I'm going to fall into a reading slump. And that's what I've been seeing with a few people. And if you start a readathon and for whatever reason you have life stuff going on, you're not feeling it, you're in the mood for something else, it's okay to stop. No one's going to judge you for it. No one's going to say you're a bad booktuber or a bad book blogger. Please stop beating yourselves up over readathons. It's okay. There are so many awesome readathons happening, and if you're interested, please do them, but do not force yourself to believe that it is the end of the world if you don't participate in every readathon that is happening and if you don't complete all of them. If you are interested in readathons, Little Book Owl did a video a couple weeks ago where she has I think it's a form or a spreadsheet that you can fill out, and she talks about all the readathons that she knows of so far. So I will also link that in the description if you're interested, or if you just want to find recommendations from the TBR videos that people do, go for it. I'll leave that in the description if anybody's interested. The next thing that I want to talk about is kind of a hot topic in our community, and it seems to be a conversation that pops up a lot. Consumerism. Here's my thing, and like everything else, like all of my other videos, this is purely my opinion, and if you disagree with me and want to have a conversation, great, let's do it. I love hearing perspectives from people that don't always agree with me. So for me personally, I understand the whole consumerism thing and why some people are really against it, why some people don't give a shit, whatever. I am not going to go onto somebody else's platform and call them out or tell them they need to stop spending money, or I'm not going to go on somebody else's platform and tell them what to do, basically is what I'm saying. I don't know them. I don't know their finances. That's none of my business. Equally, I'm not going to tolerate if somebody came onto my platform and said, you're spending too much money on books. You don't know me. You don't know my finances. Mind your business. And I totally understand if you're the kind of person who follows a minimalist lifestyle, don't want a lot of things that you don't feel that you need, and don't have the means to continually buy books and new releases and hardcovers and whatever. If you're not into it and you don't like consumerism and you want to make a video about why, or a blog post about why, do it. Express your opinion. Talk about your experience. But don't go telling other people what they should and shouldn't do, what they can and can't do, because that's not your place. And for people who feel like booktube or book blogging has pushed them into consumerism because they feel that in order to be a good book content creator, they need to keep up with new releases and they need to have a million bookshelves. No, you don't. That's simply not true. And at the end of the day, if you are feeling that pressure, it's really a conversation that you need to have with yourself, because no one is telling you that you need to do these things, but yet you're putting that pressure on yourself. And for me personally, I am a very responsible spender. Books are kind of the only part of my life where I like to splurge, because having a lot of books and having books that I love and that I can return to and that I can lend out to my friends and family makes me feel good. The one thing that I've always wanted since I was a kid is a library. I currently have 2 bookshelves, and for some people that's a lot, and then there are other creators that have 9 and 10 bookshelves or literally a full-blown library. Everybody's different. That's okay. I enjoy buying books. I enjoy reading all the books that I have. I did talk about how I am going to stop buying books for a little while so that I can work on my physical TBR, but after that, am I gonna keep buying books? Yeah, probably. I like hardcovers, so I buy a lot of books in hardcover because I like them. I'm also fortunate enough to have the means to do so, and I don't buy books that often, and I am going to do a birthday book haul, but most of that is because I was given specifically Barnes & Noble's gift cards. But if at any point I felt like I was spending too much money on books and I needed that money for other things, I would absolutely stop. Like I said, I'm a responsible spender. I don't just go around spending money willy-nilly. I don't got it like that. But I do like nice things. I do like nice books. I like hardcover books. So I do budget for it. Everybody is not able to do that, and I totally understand that. So if you are one of those people, you should not feel like you need to buy hardcover books brand new, or that you aren't a good booktuber if you don't buy those, or if you don't sit in front of a bookshelf when you're filming. That is absolutely not true. And for people who don't have the means to constantly buy new releases in hardcover, especially adult books, because they are fucking expensive. So yeah, I do buy books, but I also use a lot of free resources. Some of the things that I use are Libby, which is free, Hoopla is free, Scribd in the US, I believe, is like $10 a month, and Libra FM is, I think, $15 a month. So it's the same price as Audible, but helps support local libraries. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't necessarily have the means to keep buying new books or whatever, there are tons of resources out there that you can use, and don't be afraid to do so. You don't have to buy books in order to be a booktuber. And as far as book hauls go, because that always gets brought into the conversation, I don't do book hauls often. Since I've been on Booktube, I did one, and the only reason I did a book haul was because I had unhauled a bunch of books that I did not want or need anymore. And like I said, I will be doing a birthday book haul, but again, that is only because I was given a bunch of gift cards for Christmas because my family knows that I love books. So yes, I love book hauls. Yes, I will watch other people's book hauls. I'm not going to stop doing them because someone doesn't like them, and if you don't like them, don't watch them. However, there was a conversation on Twitter a few weeks ago, and a very big booktuber said something along the lines of, you can't get mad at booktubers for buying books, it's literally what we do. I don't agree with that because, again, not everybody has the means to do so. A lot of booktubers use free resources, and that's okay. So I say all this to say that I understand the discourse on consumerism, but at the end of the day, you don't know those people's situations, and being a booktuber does not mean that you are obligated or need to be buying new releases constantly in order to create good content. That's all I'm gonna say about that. So just like last time, I want to end this on a positive note, and this is another thing that I have been seeing on Twitter or discussed in the beginning of videos, and I just feel like people put too much emphasis on the wrong things when it comes to having any sort of platform. The quality of your content is not directly tied to your subscriber count. I don't know how else to get people to understand that. I do fully support and retweet when people post, anybody got 3 friends? I'd like to see an even 200, or whatever the case may be. And when people set goals like that, I get it. I think a lot of people use subscriber count as a measurement of success on here, and I personally don't necessarily agree with that, though I do understand how you are measuring the growth of your channel over a certain amount of time and how people set goals and whatever. But if you are not hitting that goal, do not assume that it is because your content isn't good enough. That's not true. There are some content creators on Booktube with less than 100 subscribers that are absolutely fucking amazing. And for me personally, I don't get wrapped up in all that because from the beginning I said, that's not why I'm here. I'm not measuring my success based on that. I'm here for community. I have met some amazing people from the few months that I've been here, and that's why I did it. Every time I see somebody getting monetized, that is awesome. I love it. I'm happy for them. But at the end of the day, that's not going to happen for everybody, and I don't feel like that's a realistic goal for me. One, as a woman of color on Booktube, I already talked about this in my last video, it's harder for BIPOC creators to reach certain milestones than it is for white creators. But also, from the beginning of my channel, I have never said like or subscribe. I will encourage people to read comments because, again, community, discussion, that's why I'm here, but I have never told people to subscribe to my channel. Part of the reason is the discrepancy in certain creators reaching milestones, but another part of it is, you know how YouTube works. I know you know how YouTube works. If you want to do any of those things, you will do it. I don't need to tell you to, so I'm not going to. And for some people, I see them say, oh, it's not all about the subscribers and whatever, but then they'll still set subscriber goals. Like, it can't be both. And I think I've seen some people tell themselves that it's not all about the subscriber count, but they really do care. And I think they put too much emphasis on it. Again, I get it, But at the same time, I really just want some of y'all to let that go because you're focusing on all the wrong things. What that comes down to is you're comparing yourself, your content, and your channel to other people's. And that's never the way to go about it. Because if you keep comparing yourself to everyone else, you are setting yourself up to just constantly be unhappy. Because even when you do reach your goals that you set for yourself in terms of subscriber count, you're always going to be like, oh, well, this person started at the same time with me and they have this many. And for what? Because now you're stressing yourself out. You're second guessing yourself. And what's the point, really? And recently, I've seen people talking about switching platforms and becoming a blogger instead of a booktuber because they don't think that they're reaching their goals fast enough. And why? Just why? So again, quality of your content has no correlation to your subscriber count. There are people out there who would love your content, they just may not know where you are. Like, you have to take algorithms and all of that into consideration as well. And those are things that you don't have control over. So just keep that in mind. Keep creating the content that you want to create. Keep showing your personality in your videos the way that makes most sense for you. And just keep doing what you're doing. I know everybody's not gonna like this advice, but seriously, there are people with great content that don't get the recognition that they deserve. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is, but please do not let that deter you from doing what you're doing. So I know that was a lot. If you have any particular thoughts, feelings that you want to share, you want to rant, you want to let out your frustration about some of the things that I talked about, feel free to do so in the comments or message me on Instagram or Twitter. But that's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next video.